Welcome to Max Asian. There are months where the list writes itself, and April of this year is one of them. 8 dramas covering everything from the darkest crime thriller to the most healing romance, with long-awaited comebacks and fresh new entries that already have everything to surprise. If anything defines this lineup, it's the variety. No matter what you're looking for, there's something here for you. But before we get started, it would mean a lot if you took a moment to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for your kind support. Number 8. Reverse. An explosion at a villa. A woman wakes up remembering absolutely nothing. Not her name, not her past, not the reason she spent 15 years thinking about revenge. That's what happens to Myo Jin when the perfect moment to settle scores turns into the worst accident of her life. The story opens with all the weight of a classic revenge thriller, but the amnesia twist takes it somewhere darker. What happens when the person who wanted to cause the most harm no longer exists in your own memory? Seo Ji-hae handles that internal conflict with an intensity that feels real, and Go-soo builds a character you never fully figure out. With only 8 episodes, the pacing is tight, and there are moments where the plot demands some patience because the twists stack up fast. But if you're into thrillers that don't let you breathe and make you distrust everyone on screen, Reverse has the formula. One of those series you finish in one sitting and then spend time processing exactly what just happened. Number 7. Filing for Love. What happens when the most feared person in the entire company decides you're going to be her guy for all the most uncomfortable jobs? That's exactly what No Ki-jun faces, the ace of the audit team, when Ju In-ah returns to the office and sends him straight to the team that handles the company's most embarrassing internal scandals. Filing for Love is an office romantic comedy that takes its humor seriously without losing the romance. Shin Hae-sun builds Ju In-ah as a woman who intimidates with a single glance, but who has layers that emerge as the investigation brings them closer. Gong Myung brings to life a character that combines confidence and vulnerability in a way that works brilliantly. The dynamic between the two is what holds the series together, and the backdrop of audits and corporate scandals gives a different flavor to the usual office romance. There are moments where the subplot about the company's secrets feels a little tangled, but the energy the leads bring makes every episode worth it, a fresh take that mixes comedy, tension, and a connection built without rushing. Shin Hae-sun on screen is always a guarantee of something worth watching. Number 6. The Scarecrow. In a small town where everyone has known each other their whole lives, where people grew up on the same streets and went to the same schools, bodies start appearing. And the detective who returns to investigate the crimes turns out to be someone those very streets know well. The Scarecrow is based on the real Hwasong serial murder case, one of the darkest in Korean criminal history, and that gives a different weight to every scene. Park Hae-soo carries Kang Tae-ju with the intensity we already know from him, and the reunion with his childhood classmates complicates the investigation in ways that aren't always comfortable to watch. Lee Hee-jun as the prosecutor and Kwak Sun-young as the journalist round out a triangle of characters that feel genuinely real. The only risk with dramas based on true events is that the weight of the actual story sometimes limits narrative freedom. But Park Hae-soo in detective mode in his hometown, chasing a killer the system took decades to catch, is a premise that speaks for itself, a thriller that will hold the tension from beginning to end. Number 5. Yumi Cells, Season 3. Yumi already has what she always wanted. She's a writer, her novel is published, and her life is finally quiet. But the cells in her head have been running on low power for a while now, as if her heart decided to take an indefinite break. Then Soonrak arrives. The 3rd season of Yumi's Cells closes the protagonist's arc with the character who is supposedly always waiting for her, and that alone gives the story a different energy from the previous installments. Kim Go-yoon slips back into Yumi with a naturalness that makes everything feel relatable, and Kim Jae-won builds Soonrak as someone who seems cold but actually operates on a very particular inner rhythm. The mix of animation and live action remains the series' most original element, and here it's used to show how the cells react to a love that arrives more slowly. 8 episodes is short for wrapping up a complete arc, and there are moments where you just want more time with the characters. But if you followed Yumi from the beginning, this final story has everything you need for a closing that feels earned. a final season that arrives with just the right pace and leaves you wishing it wouldn't end. Number 4. We are all trying here. It all starts with a man who has everything to be happy but can't stop looking at what everyone else has. Hong Dan-man wanted to make films, he has talent, but he's the only one in his group of directors who still hasn't made his debut, and that weighs on him in ways he doesn't always know how to handle. We Are All Trying Here is written by Park Hae-young, the same person behind My Mister and My Liberation Notes, and that shows from the very first episode. It's not a story of grand external conflicts, but of that internal noise everyone knows but few dare to name: envy, the feeling of falling behind, the fear that your moment has already passed. Woo Kyo-won and Go Yeon-jung build a connection that feels honest. Two people with different wounds who start finding some calm in each other's company. 12 episodes is a generous format for this kind of slice-of-life drama, and there are stretches where the narrative breathes more than some viewers will want. But if Park Hae-young guarantees anything, it's that she knows how to make a small story feel enormous. The kind of drama you watch quietly and that suddenly has you thinking about your own life. One of the most anticipated of the year, and for good reason. Number 3. Perfect Crown. What would you do if the only thing you were missing to have it all was a royal title? Sung Hee-ju has money, intelligence, and a company she leads without blinking. But in a Korea where constitutional monarchy still exists and royal status is everything, her status as a commoner is the one ceiling she can't break through alone. Perfect Crown's premise is a classic contract romance, but executed with a production level that shows on screen from the very first frame. IU builds Hee-ju as a woman who doesn't need anyone to save her, but who chooses this alliance out of pure strategy, and that makes her far more interesting than the usual archetype. Baeon Woo-sok carries Prince Yi-an with a restraint that works well against IU's energy, and their reunion after Scarlet Heart has something of a circle closing. The love story moves between palace politics and mutual discovery, with several supporting characters carrying their own storylines. It's still too early to know if the script can sustain the weight of its two leads across 12 episodes. But with IU and Baeon Woo-sok on screen together as leads for the first time and Park Joon-hwa directing, Perfect Crown has everything it needs to be the drama of the year. I have a lot of faith in this one. Number 2. Bloodhounds. Season 2. 3 years after dismantling the loan shark network that had Gunwoo's family trapped in inescapable debt, the two boxers are at the best point of their lives. Gunwoo is training to become a professional champion, and Woo-jin is in his corner. For once, the world looks ordered. Then Baek-jong appears, a man who controls an international underground boxing league where money and violence are the only rules. His arrival forces Gunwoo and Woo-jin back into a fight that goes far beyond the ring. Rain brings Baek-jung to life with a presence that registers from the very first scene, and the duo of Woo Do-hwan and Lee Sang-yi remains as solid as in the first season. The open question is whether the plot manages to sustain the emotional pulse that made the first installment feel so personal, because that was its greatest strength. But Bloodhounds proved it knows how to tell stories about ordinary people facing something too big for them alone, and that formula doesn't fail. More action, higher stakes, and a friendship that already carries the weight of everything they've been through together. The ring is waiting. Number 1. Sold Out on You. Matthew Lee lives in a quiet village, grows rare mushrooms that are the only ones in the world, and manages 3 jobs at the same time. His life is an organized chaos that works exactly the way he wants it to, until Dam Yi-jin shows up at his door, ready to do whatever it takes to get those mushrooms for her show. Sold Out on You bets on the most classic format of Korean romance. Two people who shouldn't be in the same world, and who little by little can't help being there together. An Hyo-seop builds Matthew with a dry humor and a warmth that reveals itself slowly, and Chae Won-bin brings a Dam Ye-jin who seems perfect on the outside, but carries an insomnia that says a lot about how she lives on the inside. The countryside versus city dynamic gives the story a different rhythm from the usual office romance. Like any romance of this kind, there are moments where the central conflict depends on misunderstandings that could be resolved with a single conversation. But it's exactly the kind of drama that has you smiling without realizing it, with characters you like from the first episode and a connection that builds slowly until suddenly you can't imagine the series without both of them together. The perfect candidate for sleeper hit of the year. And that's a wrap for today's Top on Max Asian. 8 dramas for April that go from most to least intense, or the other way around depending on what you're looking for. If you like this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss our next uploads. Let me know in the comments which one you're most excited to watch, because with Perfect Crown and Sold Out on You on the same list, things are about to get interesting. See you in the next one.